Alrighty, we are here with Erika De Santi. I messed it up. We're gonna keep that in. Erika De Santi, De Santi. We'll call you Erika, who is the co-founder of WeRoad, one of the coolest, most disruptive travel companies in Europe and beyond. And so excited to talk all things travel, travel companies, group travel, how to correctly pronounce your last name, all these things. But Erika, so excited to have you on. Thanks for joining. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks a million, Max, for the invitation. Super thrilled to be here. And I hope I got your name right, though.
A million max, I like it. That's perfect. People typically go with like a billion max or a trillion max, but I'm like, guys, come on. So, no. So we'll go through pronunciation all around in this. And actually, before we started recording, when we were talking about names, you mentioned that your husband's name is Max as well, Massimiliano. So, twins here. I mean, we're in good company with all. We're going to take this to the max, as they say.
Obviously, we will.
So, before we get to WeRoad, I would love to know about your passions for travel in general. Can you share just from your entire life? Is there one vacation or holiday that sticks out as like, wow, that was the coolest travel experience I've ever had?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I have plenty of travel experiences to share, but I think the one that literally hit me was the one to Peru in 2018-19 because I love doing like these trips across New Year's Eve, and that experience was definitely mind blowing. But I was already a kind of a grown up when I went to Peru. I think that the whole passion for travel actually started not when I was grown up, but like more as a kiddo. I would say when I had at home, I was like fond of maps, which could be quite awkward, but I actually was nuts and mental about maps. So I always traveled through maps and books, this ancient thing that nowadays nobody uses anymore. And also in my first internship, so something very peculiar for us, let's say when we are teenage. I did one as a travel agent and I realized I was like, oh my God, all these catalogs explaining amazing places around the world. I've never seen any of these things. I want to make this my career somehow. I didn't know how, but I was literally working and sleeping amongst the catalogs of amazing trips across the globe. And that is the moment when I realized that that was my path for the future.
What did you do on that trip to Peru that opened your eyes to this is quite the world out there?
Yeah, well, actually, I think that I had a great encounter with both culture and nature because the trip was super comprehensive. You went from desert landscapes to tropical ones to like the ocean to the biggest mountains in the world. So I realized how cool and mesmerizing the world could be in such a nutshell, which is a country, right? Whereas before, maybe the trips, the experiences that I've done were kind of very vertical in a way in terms of natural experience that you actually were doing. And secondly, on the culture side, I thought the Peruvian population was incredible in terms of sharing, in terms of literally getting you below what normal tourists could experience, bringing in their homes, letting you fully encounter with their daily lives. And we did some, I mean, it was a we road trip, so we had contacts with the local communities and we had the chance to share their apartments, their houses, their rooms at the end of the day because there was no electricity, no nothing, right? So and that was extremely touching to see how different cultures could be, and that was the first time that I experienced something so strong also from a personal and cultural perspective. So these were the two aspects that literally blew my mind in that trip.
Yeah, it makes it all that much more special when you can when you don't feel like a tourist, like when you can go into
Oh
someone's
yeah.
home or you can do local experiences like that, which we'll get to in a bit. But did you go to, and I pronounce this wrong all the time, did you go to Machu Picchu when you were on that trip?
That was pronounced perfectly, I think. So awesome.
Thank you.
Yes,
I just put that disclaimer in front of everything I say, Erica.
no worries, no worries. Yes, we went with a whole lot. Let's say we were like in 15 people, like in the group, more or less. And yes, even if it could seem like a tourist experience, I think we tried to find the way to do it in a way that it was quite unique in the sense that we went there like first, literally at dawn, and so we had the chance to get into the site before anybody else, and we ventured ourselves onto the Huayna Picchu that in the iconographic, let's say, picture of Machu Picchu, it's basically the mountain that you see just behind the ruins, right? And it's literally like that. So climbing it. So it's literally climbing on top of your head to go up that hill. At that height, it's like super intense. So it was quite a super challenging and intense trekking experience, but it definitely was mind blowing as well, right? So even if, you have loads of tourists there, it's an experience that not all tourists can do because it's like limited to keep the site also sustainable in terms of accesses, right? So I think there's just 400 people a day that can access Huayna Picchu. So, and this makes it all worth, living and authentic and tiring at the same time, but definitely worth living and experiencing.
Yeah, that's once in a lifetime. So, my brother Andrew, when he was younger, he did he lived, studied. I think there was a charity aspect as well, in Peru for a little bit, and he did not get to go to Machu Picchu. Which the problem is, if you go to Peru and don't go there, everybody, like I just did to you, asks, "Oh, how was Machu Picchu?" And he didn't go as part of it, so we're kind of joking that, like, everybody, he's the only person in the world that's traveled to Peru and not gone there. But actually, in reality, there's so much more that the country has to
Oh
offer as
yes,
well, and
definitely.
you can see it beyond that. He was in a totally different part, as well. But
Yeah.
that's inspiring in itself. You mentioned earlier that you loved maps and probably still love maps. And I'm a huge fan as well. I mean, now, I haven't used the big printout atlases in a while or the triptychs while you're driving on a road trip. But if I need to Google map something, I get lost in Google Maps. Like, I zoom out, I look at the countries, I look at the landscapes, I go to these different parts. So I love doing that as well. For you growing up, like, what did that actually look like? What did your passion for maps look like?
Well, that's a good point, and it translates into Google Google Maps as well. So that's a pattern. I see a pattern here, and obviously, I think especially when designing trips, right? So creating them from scratch, the approach that we try to adopt, obviously, it's something that we bring as founders, is that of going off the beaten track and not just Google right where to go, but rather finding it out ourselves. And the starting point is research on the ground, right? Both like live, but also on Google Maps, because on Google Maps you can actually explore and see places that maybe aren't like mapped there. And if you imagine also talking about Peru, rainbow mountains weren't a thing up until a few years ago, but then thanks to, I would say, pictures, Instagram, Google Maps, they suddenly became like, wow, an amazing place where to go. And right now, I think they're the second after Machu Picchu in terms of visits of places in Peru. But close
Nice
after
pronunciation, by the. I'm just kidding.
that. But also, once I went there, and I explored like on Google Maps where these were, I was like, oh my God, but around these rainbow mountains, there's an amazing valley. What is this valley? And then when I went there, we had the chance to go down the, let's say, unusual way to climb up the Rainbow Mountains, that is the Valle Rioja. And that was the best, I think, and most incredible places I've seen in my whole life. Not even expecting that. And it was completely off the beaten track, not for everybody, especially because you need to be a little bit more trained to go there. So I think that the evolution from maps to Google Maps was quite spontaneous in our generation. You don't know how many pins I have in my Google Map, so it's like the whole world covered in pins, both for work but also for my personal passion. And so I think that that's for sure something that I right now use every day in my life.
More pins than a bowling alley. Very
Yeah,
impressive
definitely. And also for all our team members and the travel coordinator, like to guide and accompany people around the world. That's the tool they use also to go off the beaten track, knowing where they're going.
So you never know what you can find exploring on maps, and you never know what sort of business you're going to start as well. So let's get to WeRoad. And this, obviously, it makes sense with your background. You even hinted to the fact that you were a travel agent before this. What's the term in Italian? I saw it looks like agent di viaggio. I don't know. I pronounced that wrong.
Agenzia di viaggio. The least
Perfect.
sexy
Okay.
name on earth, I think.
Let's say no. That's great. That's I would argue that your Italian pronunciation is better than mine, so we'll give that to you. No, actually, my favorite, because we did our honeymoon in Italy, which is awesome, and now I just bring up in every episode. But my favorite Italian word, I think, is spiaggia. Did I say that right? For beach?
Yep.
Spiaggia.
Yep.
Got it.
Spiaggia.
Yeah,
Perfect pronunciation.
It sounds awesome, and it's the beach. What can't go wrong there? But anyway, so you were one of those agents of travel. You had an interest in this from an early age, but what was the point for you that the idea hit that we could actually create like a group travel business ourselves?
Well, actually, when I met my other founder, Paolo, and Fabio, at the time, all of us were millennials, so in our 30s. I mean, Fabio is a little bit older, but let's keep it for us.
Wait, well, let's say you said we're millennials. Once a millennial,
Yeah.
always a millennial, so it
Always
still
a
counts,
millennial.
except for
Yeah,
maybe
let's
not
do it.
Fabio, but we'll count.
Not Fabio, but that's another story. But definitely, all of us had the same need of getting out there, exploring the world. We were young professionals, so we had the economic power to go to start going long haul and travel to distant destinations. But at the same time, our friends, when we were younger, weren't definitely there exactly when we could go on our trips, right? So that was the need of, okay, I want to explore the world, but I don't want to do it alone. But at the same time, I don't want to do it with a herd of people, like 200 people, or like in a bus or something like that. So our objective was that of living authentic, off the beaten track, backpacking experiences, but not alone. So with a certain component related to getting to know new people during these incredible experiences. So we had a look at who was in the market doing this. And definitely there were international operators like Contiki, Jet Ventures, the big ones, right? That have always done group travels. And both my co-founders went on a trip with one of them, one to New Zealand, the other one to Vietnam. And when they got back, it was, I think, December 2016, January 2017. What they realized was that their experiences, okay, amazing, was group traveling, but what the component that was missing there was exactly the group component. So the group was seen more as a mean to an end that was getting better deals to get out on the other side of the world. Full stop, right? Whereas what we thought was that, no, guys, we are losing the biggest part of the experience, which is getting to know the people you're with, becoming friends, maybe afterwards, because at the end of the day, the majority of us millennials, as we said before, are alone. Maybe we moved to another city. So our friends, when we were teenage, don't live close to us anymore. We won't be able to meet because they changed life, got married, got a family, whatever. So we said, okay, let's create this format and adapt it to these needs in Italy. In Italy, where we all started like the business, there was no such a thing as group travel for millennials. Not at all. So we had the concept of, as you said, maybe teen teen travels, like so big spring break kind of events for teenagers after their high school or things like that, that were working pretty well. And actually, Paolo is the owner of a company that is called Scuola Zoo that does that, right? So he already had that kind of knowledge. But there was no such a thing for a young professional in smaller groups. So 8 to 15 people, so max. So no, not a big bus of 50 people, bubbly people, Italians, imagine, a nightmare, a nightmare. So that was it. And we said, okay, let's do it from scratch. Let's put together people that are in the same age range, so between 25 and 49 years old, more or less. Why this? Because we thought, okay, if we're going to bring these people around the globe, at the end of the day, they're going to come back home and they become friends. And this is going to be the key component for our trip. So having them as a transformative, experiential activity that not only makes you explore the local culture, as in the case of Peru that I was mentioning before, but also that enables you to get to meet other people during the trip. And I can tell you that in my trip to Peru, I met several people that I still am in talks with. I chat. One has become an electrician. The other one is a hunter I'm working with. So so it's definitely a people connector experience. And so that's where the need turned into a business. And the initial outcome was incredible, because definitely we were kind of interpreting a need that was there and nobody took care of in Italy at the time. So that's how it all started.
It's a cool pinch me moment how it's gone from initial insight to full-fledged business and now expansion. There's so many experiences across the world. Speaking of those experiences, what are so the audience can get an idea, what are some examples of the types of experiences you can expect on WeRoad?
Yes. So taking the example of Peru, what we do is creating an experience that is as comprehensive as possible to let people fully understand the local culture, but at the same time have the freedom to personalize it in few ways. So to give you an example, one key component of our group travel experiences is the role and the person of the travel coordinator, which is not to be thought as the local tour guide, as maybe other operators have, or the tour leader that accompanies the group full stop. But it's more, as we define it, a travel companion, a travel buddy. And the key aspect is that this person also comes from the country of origin of the group. So imagine a bunch of Italians traveling with an Italian travel coordinator that is not a tour guide, but it's a person that wants to share this experience for the first time with the group itself. And we have so many different profiles. It's such a diverse community of travel coordinators right now. We have more than 2,500 people coming from our source markets, so Germany, UK, France, Italy, and Spain. And they do the most diverse jobs. So you get from content creators to doctors to nurses to whatever we have it, pharmacists, I don't know, whatever we have it. And they do it as a passion in their free time. They do it 1 or 2 times a year that they guide our groups around the world. And this gives us literally an outstanding advantage over anybody out there, because imagine a person like going to Machu Picchu for the first time along with the group. For some people, it could be daunting. It's like, oh my God, my travel coordinator doesn't even know where to go because it's his first time here. On the other side, it's not that this person takes the role of the tour guide, because we obviously have a local tour guide helping us climbing the mountain. But it enables us to get in contact with the local tour guide. It creates the atmosphere in the group. So as I said before, group component is key. So we basically have a person that is in charge of group dynamics, team building, being empathetic, putting them in the mindset of connecting with the local culture. So not just like a high school trip where you like remain on the surface, but literally helps you to go deeper down the emotional experience. and at the same time enjoying themselves, right? Because imagine like being the tour guide that guides every day a group on top of the Machu Picchu. Come on. The last day you don't even turn because you already know the ruins are by heart, stone by stone, right? So instead you get a person that is so thrilled to go there, or so thrilled to go to reach the top of the Rainbow Mountain, that if a person is like out of breath, a little bit behind the group, it's like, okay, we can do it all together, let's go. And that experience is going to become memorable, for not just for the group but also for this person, right? And the power you get out of a community of 2,500 people is insane, because they become spontaneous ambassadors of your spread across all Europe. And that's for sure reverting back to your questions, what makes us different and what you can actually expect out of a WeRoad trip that is completely different from anybody else.
That's a brilliant insight. I've always thought that of, like certain tours, there are certain places throughout the world, like it would be really fun to be a tour guide. You get to walk around, see beautiful places, meet people, talk with history. Well, you'll talk with history and talk about history. But I've also thought that in the back of my mind of like, wow, like a lot of tour guides must get so tired of doing the same thing over and over
Yeah.
and over again. Like hopefully you're able to mix it up a lot. So that's just brilliant that your group leaders, group coordinators, whatever the official name is, they have that same excitement that anybody experiencing something for like the first or second time would have. So that's a really great insight. What about in terms of overall, like finding those experiences? What's that process, especially now how you've grown and grown and grown, you have so many people, so many different experiences. What's the process for selecting or curating a type of experience where you're like, all right, this is WeRoad worthy?
Yeah. Cool. So also in this, our travel coordinator help. The travel coordinators help because we have, I think, right now more than 300 different destinations covered, and I don't know how many itineraries. And some of them they've been like with us since day one. So our itineraries that we have optimized across the years. But I would say that the secret recipe that we have to make them roll in a way that is like WeRoad marked, trademarked somehow, is basically a sort of emotional cure that we try to design within every single itinerary. So even here, we designed the trip not just to, okay, I need to get to see the must see of the country, looking at the Google map, right? But it's more, okay, I need to get this bunch of people, get to know each other, go through this journey and come back home different. Hopefully better, right? So this is the social impact we have as a company, right? So what we do is, I'll give you an example, an Indonesia 360 itinerary, right? So we normally try to start the itinerary in a city so that it's easy for everybody to get to, because our trips do not include the flight. So people can meet there, maybe can go there a little bit before, leave a little bit later. Flexibility to us, it's key. So you have everybody in the city, super easy to reach, but you don't stay in the city in the first days. Why? Because imagine a bunch of 15 strangers that don't know each other in a city like Bangkok or Jakarta, full of possibilities and things to do. So you already start feeling awkward because, oh my God, I would love to go there, but that person that I don't know, and it's the first time I speak to that person, wants to go on the other side. So you start, oh my God, hyperventilating and saying, okay, this is not going to work. Group travel is not for me, right? So what we do is try instead to put everybody maybe in a transfer and have them like go and start the adventure super soon. Because imagine on the other side, okay, I'm on a 6-hour transfer to this incredible place in the middle of nature. I definitely need to talk to the person sitting next to me, right? Because otherwise it could become daunting and a little bit awkward. So in this way, you break the ice, you have a moment for the group to be shaped and start getting to know each other in the trip since day one, right? Without creating that source of stress that could be like managing a group in a city for the first day. And also for the travel coordinator, it's a good opportunity for team building, right? So everybody met before the trip on a WhatsApp group. So we keep it very informal. But the WhatsApp group is also the first, let's say, format of social, let's say, exchange. And so in the first transfer, you probably have the chance also to relate to something that you've discussed in the WhatsApp group. And they give an example. Some travel coordinators in the WhatsApp group say, okay, let's create the playlist of the trip, right? And then in the first transfer, they do this sort of game where, okay, this song, who said it? And so there are like games like this that go all over the place, which enable people to get to know each other and break the ice. Then after that, so in the trip design, we always have something that is memorable, as we call it, like wow experience, so that you can immediately imprint an experience worth living and sharing. That is in our mission, also as a company, that everybody can relate to. It could be climbing up the peak in Sri Lanka. I don't know. It could be like the Rainbow Mountain climbing, right? So things like that. And then, all of the experiences, waking up early in the morning. So going through things that literally put people outside of their comfort zone, to then finish with a lower rhythm, normally by the beach. Maybe if you're in Indonesia, you could end up in Gili Islands, right? So at the end of the trip, so to chill. And at that point, at that stage, the people in the group already know each other. So there's no, let's say, social pressure in doing something that is different, but from each other. You got to know Max, and Max is an expert of surfing, and he's in Indonesia. He can't but go surfing, because otherwise it's 10 days that talks about surfing. So you better go. But I'm like fond of souvenir shopping. I don't know, so I can go and do my stuff without putting anybody into social pressure for not coming with me. Or you have the confidence of saying, like, come on, come with me, right? So this travel design strategy, it's intertwined in all our travel itineraries, and the travel coordinator is trained to go through this emotional journey and manage the freedom that comes with it. Because if you think about our trips, and maybe the majority of group travel experiences, they're not, let's say, packed every single minute, but we keep a bunch of moments of flexibility where the travel coordinator is trained to facilitate these sort of experiences that go beyond the normal trip. So this makes us different than anybody else, but also makes every single trip in a destination different than the other, because there must be obviously must-seen and must-do things, but also there are groups and groups. You have a more party-oriented group, you have a more history and culture-oriented group, you have a lazy one, you have a fast-paced one. So these things could be literally managed and tailor-made live by our travel coordinators. So there is where they come as the best partners in crime.
Well, it's crazy you mentioned Max and surfing, because I used to actually be in the surfing world championship. And so I'm just kidding. I've never surfed in my life. I just made that up. No, but just a little snippet
yes, to
Thank you, Cowabunga. But no, I experiences like that are off the charts. But I really appreciate you taking us through that, because you can just feel that, like, the fine tuning of every part of the experience is so crucial and such a differentiator. And you're right. Like, I can imagine with group travel, like, if you don't break the ice, then all of a sudden, it's like if you're in a group traveling and you don't get along or like those people in the group, then that can become a horrible trip. So whatever you can do to break the ice and have people create memories and inside jokes right from the beginning is awesome. And then it's like a natural story arc of like experiences throughout, and then a soft landing at the end. So really brilliant architecture there. How about in terms of growing the company overall? Mm-hmm. So of course you need more and more experiences. You also need more and more millennials and people interested in doing this sort of group travel like this. How have you best over the years been able to attract people to actually sign up and become WeRoaders, as they call?
Yeah. So I think that the key pillar for us in building this was building a community first. So I would say that from a business model perspective with our tour operator, right? So we create amazing experiences, we craft them, and we sell them to the wider public, let's say directly. So without relying on intermediaries, etc. So it's very easy, let's say, in that sense. But what is disruptive is that while doing it, we are building a community. We are a direct-to-consumer business, which is something sometimes awkward for tour operators that rely on intermediaries like travel agents or OTAs to sell their product. Whereas what we do is invest every single, let's say, euro we have in building these solid travelers community worldwide, and starting obviously from Europe. And how do we do that? We do that in different ways. First, by building a brand that is a brand that is recognizable by our generation. And this means not only talking about trips, but also talking the language, using the same tone of voice of our generation. So if you have a look at our social media, those are our acquisition channel, but also inspiration channels for our WeRoaders. And our objective there is always creating content, not ads. So content that is top notch, that is engaging, and that can inspire and also make a little bit of company to our lonely generation during their daily lives, right? So not just when they're in a trip or when they're dreaming about Sri Lanka, but also when they're discussing what the Kardashians did last week, right? So, and we do it in a way with memes and stuff that relate to our trips, like in a quirky and ironic and very daring way sometimes, right? So, and this led us to become, I think, one of the biggest brand out there on socials, with 2.5 million users across Instagram and TikTok in our markets. And this literally is a share of voice, right, in the sector for us. So that's the basics, right? So keep them engaged all year long with incredible content. And then second, I would say building onto the WeRoaders and travel coordinators as real ambassadors. So the fact that we have 2.5K, so 2,500 travel coordinators out there is like having 2,500 promoters, spontaneous ambassadors that always pitch your brand without having been asked to do so, but spontaneously because they think that it's worth doing. And it's worth, having more and more people joining this tribe, this group, this bunch of passionate travelers. And we take a lot care of not only the trip component, but also the offline event, spontaneous events creation in the markets where we actually operate. So to give an example, right now, since we were born, we brought around the world 100,000 WeRoaders. And this year, in terms of growth, in just 1 year, we probably hit 100,000 WeRoaders. So we're growing like nuts, but we already have 100,000 people out there that have traveled with us. In Italy, which is the first market that we launched, obviously we have the biggest community. And up until now, we have more than 40 events per month, spontaneously created by our community. And so it's like meetups, like to go hiking on this mountain, to go kayaking there, to have a drink together by I don't know which is lake, whatever. So and these events we kind of try to help travel coordinators to organize, but they're very much spontaneously pushed, and that's where the value is literally hit. Because if you think about the competition, so normal tour operators, they don't take care about these components. For us, instead, it's insanely important. So also as a marketing strategy, we always try to be there in events where our target recognizes itself and partner with brands that are like talking to our generation, like Vans, like Decathlon, like N26. So all like talking to the same target, sponsoring festivals, things like that, right? So that's, I think, the key to make it.
Well, congrats on all those milestones and numbers. I mean, I have like a warm, fuzzy feeling hearing about just how much the community has grown and You're right. You've built the business that intrinsically anybody who becomes a part of it becomes an ambassador and becomes
Yeah.
a word of mouther. Because if you have, everybody knows, if in general, if you go on vacation, have a great vacation, you're going to tell everybody you know on the planet in history, alive or dead, about it. But also, if it's through a really, really cool company like WeRoad, it's kind of like a badge of honor of like, hey, check this company out. So you've done a really nice job there. I'd love to dive in a little bit more to that aspect of group travel, because I think it's so fascinating, because there's so many different ways to travel out there, but group is one that you've really zeroed in on as a group, obviously. But what would you say like the biggest benefit of group travel is?
Yeah, I think that, and there was actually a lot of discussion around this topic in the group travel, like let's say world. The biggest impact we have is like fighting loneliness, and I think I had a chat with the fellow, founders in the group travel world, but also there was an event in Vienna taken by two Raider as well, where we talked about the importance of our job in terms of fighting loneliness. But definitely it is. So I think that if compared to the past, what we realized as a business and as an industry is that the people experience, the group dynamics, the impact, the social impact we have, it's bigger than any other impact we could have, right? Especially because it's so difficult, I think, nowadays to get to know people in a meaningful way, and to spend time, so invest time in really getting to know people. And with group travel you can do that, because imagine like how we socialize as human beings nowadays, right? So if you're new to New York, right, and you want to you got a new job and you're like a newbie in town, you feel quite lost. And so the people you probably become friends with either are your colleagues, but if your colleagues are like no go, you go to the gym and hope somebody will be as fit as you to get on well with, or to the bar. But maybe there you have like, how much, 1 hour, 15 minutes to get to know them, and understanding like 15 minutes if it's a go
Well,
or not,
it
right?
depends what bar, but yeah.
Or yeah, or what level of fit you are. That's why I said 15
Yeah, exactly.
minutes, because I can't go more. But yeah, jokes apart, I think that in a trip you definitely need to spend at least 7-10 days with that person, right? So you can literally go beyond what is the first impression, which is a luxury that nowadays a hectic life can isn't affordable for everybody, right? So I think that is the biggest impact, right? And it's not obviously for everybody, because there are people that instead want an experience where there is no compromise. And I think in a group travel, obviously you have to put together 15 different ideas sometimes, right? Or you have to get to a solution that it probably is not the one you want, but maybe it's the best for the group. Or you need to share spaces, which is also something that we're not used to anymore, apart from like friends, flatmates that we grown up with. But still you have maybe to share transfers, rooms, experiences with others. And so it's definitely something that not everybody is up for. So but yeah, so this I think is like the biggest impact we have as an industry.
It's a really strong mission behind it, and I'm kind of fantasizing about it, like as you were talking about group, going on a trip with a bunch of people. Like one of my favorite aspects of going on vacation is like, of course I still use my phone some, but like I try to unplug as much as possible. And when you're in an environment, when you're with new people, meeting people from all around the world, creating new friends, you're really able to unplug, and you're able to have those like, human to human connection that like we're I don't know the right way to say it. We're like meant to have, really. And before technology kind of came to where it was. And so it's really nice that you kind of you create those opportunities to do that and create new connections and friends that way. So really, really powerful. What's some, you mentioned that there's compromise, like it's a little bit different. It's not for everybody. What are some kind of things that you need to know going in? Like if you're like, all right, I'm signing up for WeRoad, I'm doing a trip. What's something that you need to do just kind of like mentally to make sure that you have the best group travel experience possible?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And actually, in order to explain it also, we kind of written down the WeRoader manifesto, right? So I'm a WeRoader if, right? And that expresses also our values, right? We think that WeRoad is the right, trip for you if you're open-minded, right? So you're open to people's opinions because respect for us is at the basis, and it's not just respect for the environment and for the local culture, which is something that could come like as a first hint when you travel abroad, but especially is for the people traveling with you because they might be different, right? And so maybe it's also the first time that you encounter somebody that you wouldn't have been able to encounter in your daily life. So respect for sure. Then for us, it's also passion and discovery, right? So the need to go beyond your comfort zone, but also beyond what you're used to do. Because, for example, I can tell you that a trip to Southeast Asia is very much different than a trip to Latin America in terms of rhythm, in terms of things that you can actually expect. So there's no Swiss efficiency in Southeast Asia, right? So you need to take it slowly, or there is no such a thing as a delay in Iceland. I don't know. So these things literally are very much intertwined to the local cultures. And if you don't have the mindset of discovery, it literally could crash and prevent people from enjoying the experience, and also go with the flow, and also enjoy the problem solving that comes along the way. Because as we normally say, I think that problem solving or things that go wrong in trips are normally the ones that are remembered the most, and cooler to be storytelled afterwards. Like imagine being locked in a hotel in Japan because there's a storm outside that blocks the whole country for days. That happens, but how you spend those 3 days in that hotel with the rest of the group could become the best experience in your life, right? So that's the right mindset that we try to convey to people, to WeRoaders and also to travel coordinators. Always have a plan B, and trust me, the plan B is going to be the best. So because this is also another cool thing. And then I think the other one for WeRoad is venturing to a WeRoad if you want to become part of a community. So if you want to be also involved afterwards, or if you are looking for people that are also looking for a connection afterwards, right? So if you're the kind of person that I don't give a funk, let's say, about the people I'm traveling with, right? I just want to go to Machu Picchu, full stop, right? Maybe we're not the right partner for you. But if you say, okay, maybe I want to have friends along the way, the people traveling with you want the same thing. So the social component, I think we shout so much that we hope we are able to gather the same set of people that want that thing.
Your story about the storm coming hits close to home because on our honeymoon, so my wife Dana and I, when we were in Rome, we went to the Vatican, and then we found out that you can walk up to the top of the cupola,
yeah.
the top of the dome at St. Peter's, and we did it, and we did the stairs, and then we realize, oh my God, this is the smallest, windiest staircase over a lot of steps the entire time. And so Dana starts getting claustrophobic and like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. We keep powering on. And then once you're up there, it's like most beautiful view. You see everything. And it's just like, wow, this is really, really cool. But also Dana's like a little dizzy. We're like, we don't want to spend too much time up here. And then we look off to the whatever direction it was, and we see giant thunderstorm clouds like coming our way, and we can see like the rain starting. So we're up there at the top of the world basically for 2 minutes before the rain started, and we're like, oh my god! After all this like claustrophobic stair winding,
Experience.
we get to the top and we're getting rained on, and then by the time we were at the bottom and we had ran across the roof, we just ran for it in the pouring rain, and we were drenched, and there's selfies of us and soaking wet. But anyway, the point of all that is that yes, it was a bit traumatic in the middle of that, but for the rest of our lives, we'll look fondly back at that moment. And like, you never know if it's like a weather thing or just like a fluke mishap. Like, those are the moments that make travel really special. So it's nice that WeRoad can create opportunities like that.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree.
Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Whoa, let's go.
All right. Whoa, let's do it. Let's get wild. All right. What is, you mentioned at the start, you mentioned off record that, oh, okay, I'll just be bubbly in Italian. What's an aspect? Yeah, of course. What's an aspect of, besides being bubbly in Italian, what's an aspect of your personality that your husband, team, friends, somebody calls you out for, but it's just who you are? Maybe it's a little bit quirky, but it's part of your personality.
Well, I think I'm passionate about what I do, and I can't but do something that I'm passionate about, and you can tell because I try to put a lot of. I always put a lot of energy and in what I do, and I think that comes out very very bubbly, but at the same time convincing. I hope, at least.
Perfect. Passionate, bubbly in Italian. The Erika story.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Are you still based in Milan?
Yes, I toured, I think, in the last 5 years around Europe to launch each market. Because when we started launching market in 2019, I was the one amongst the founders to pack my backpack literally and go. So I launched first Spain, then the UK, and last year France and Germany. And this implied a lot of traveling and also living in some of these countries for a while to launch the business there. But now I'm back. I'm back to Milan, so I'm back to HQ right now.
Perfect. And so what is, because we didn't get to Milan, but I know it's a really cool city. What's your one line sales pitch for anybody of why they should visit Milan while they're in Italy?
Well,
or even when they're not in Italy, why they should go to Milan.
Yeah, so I'm actually not originally from Milan, but from Veneto, which is the region of wine. There I had a lot of touristy beach, right? But from Milan perspective, having lived in cities like London, for example, I think it's the most international city in Italy. So if somebody's looking not for the touristy experience, but rather a real life, real business also experience, Milan is the place where things happen in Italy, let's say.
Perfect. And then last one, I have one more Italian question for you. You made it happen with the bubbly in Italian, but another one of our favorite Italian words that we learned on the honeymoon is schiacciata. Because of course we went to, yeah, there you go. Close enough.
Close.
Because Florence, Tuscany, everything there was amazing. What's an Italian word that you think non-native Italian speakers would struggle with the most?
Oh my God. Circense. I challenge you.
Wait, sorry, can you say it one more time?
Circense.
And what's that mean?
It means related to the circus. I don't know why I came up with this word. I was thinking about something with ch, but that is intense.
that is
could be tough.
Well, cheers to that, Erika. Thank you so much. What a circusy note to end on. Thank you so much. Just love what you do with WeRoad and beyond. Where's the best place for people to try out WeRoad if they're interested?
Well, connect to WeRoad.com and browse around because there is a million of incredible experiences to book. And just drop a line if you want to know to get to know more about it.
Perfect. And is there a place for people to connect with you online as well?
Yep, just LinkedIn me. So Erika De Santi on LinkedIn, and if you send a request of friendship, just add a note, and I'll connect super easily.
Awesome. Super easy. We're at the circus here. Now, last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote, a line, just one kind of word of wisdom, word of advice to leave us here with. Take us home.
I think one of the books that I've read and Fabio gifted me in the early days of WeRoad was Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh, the founder of Zappos.com. And it's a great book to read, but I think that the message there of delivering happiness with the business that you do to people, it's something that is worth fighting and working for, definitely.
Bring on the bongos!